Many of you are waking up to having spiritual experiences that defy societal rules and sort of align with universal truths. Watch this video. So, I was at a dinner party last night with a bunch of really incredibly strong, independent, awesome, like-minded women. And one of the women started asking me about what I do and how I got into this work and what was kind of the spark. And so I want to share this because it will all make sense at the end of the video. So, when I was 15 years old, it was on my 16th birthday, actually. I was at a youth group convention in Atlanta with 2,000 other kids my age. And we were all in this big dome learning about God. Youth group, right? And I had an experience that I didn't know how to describe for years later. It was an out-of-body experience where all of a sudden I saw, there was big screens. I saw myself on the screen. I saw myself next to me. I saw myself in every single person that I would look at. And it was almost this divine sort of teaching of everyone is you. Everything is you. You are everywhere. And so I had this moment where I just understood oneness. I understood unity. I understood there was no separation. And in that moment of seeing, having the experience of no separation, I felt completely lifted, completely free. And that feeling stayed with me for a while until I got back into school. It was my junior year of high school, and I started having experiences again of the separation, of being left out, or fear of being left out, or fear of something I thought was happening because of a divine intervention that then didn't happen. And then all these misinterpretations, these conditioned responses and emotions and thoughts would come back in, and I would feel that experience leave. So I was telling her about this, some girl I just met who I felt connected to, and she said, "Oh, you glimpsed enlightenment. You had a glimpse of enlightenment." And I said, "Yes, and I've been chasing, or let's say trying to stay in alignment with that ever since, until a few years ago, when I went to a master's program in spiritual psychology and learned what that was and why it's so hard for most people to A, experience it, and B, keep it. And I feel like that experience for me now, 20 some years ago, was to get me on the path of seeking enlightenment, because I'd had that experience and then felt it was being taken from time to time. And so what this video is about is really shifting our societal ideals, our image, fear-based, ego-based sort of conditioning on a society based on a lot of free will, not really God's will, versus aligning with our true self, which is our God-aligned and true identification self. And that's how I shifted it for myself into alignment with this glimpse of enlightenment. So for me, every time I would fall into the fear-based societal identification, I would feel this illusion of separation. I talk about it quite often now, but this separation from God, separation from true self, because here's what we're not taught. Our society is not based on God's will a lot of the time. Our society is based on a bunch of measures and status and standards that aren't created by who we truly are, our soul. It's not created by that. It's created by people creating measures and things to make society work. But what I love to teach and live by is a sort of law of the universe, not a rule of society. And when I find myself falling back into, because we're human, these needs or these worries or these fears or these things that aren't based in complete wholeness, complete worthiness, complete true identification, I'm able to get right back on track because I remember that glimpse of enlightenment, and I've had many since then. And now I know that feeling of complete oneness, and I get to take my thoughts and emotions and upgrade them back into the truth rather than this illusion. And so the issue with a lot of people is they don't know anything other than the illusion. So they're seeking for something they never had the experience of, so they don't have complete faith in or completely know how to understand the difference. And that's why there's people like me who have had that experience, and many of you are waking up to having that experience, and you need to understand what it is. Those spiritual experiences are actually a reflection of your own spiritual identity. You're a soul having a human experience rather than a human having a spiritual experience. But until we have these spiritual experiences, we are humans trying to have these spiritual experiences. These experiences happen from something within you. This understanding comes from a deep remembrance of your true authentic self. And the more we can surround ourselves with people that get it, with higher vibrations, with things that aren't aligned with an ego, fear-based identification, the more often we're going to remember who we are. This is all of us. We are all united in a deeper sense. We are all a spiritual-based being. And when we forget this, we feel that separation, that pain, that stress, that threat, that competition, that weirdness, right? But when we start to remember it, we feel that freedom, that, everything's always okay, that no matter what happens, it doesn't have to mean something bad. It usually doesn't. It's usually something happening for our higher self, not to us, right? It's happening for us. And if we can open up to the perception that the universe always has our back, we can start to align more and more and more with this divine feeling and this remembering that everything is always perfect in its purpose. So, I hope you get that. And if you get it and you want to go back to it, rewatch the video and share with anyone who you think might be going through this, who would benefit. Also, you guys, check out a link below to my new online course called Self-Love Masterclass. It is so awesome. I don't want to say too much about it because I want you guys to check it out. But if you get on the list below, you'll be the first to know about the day it launches, which will be probably in a week, about the massive discount, the first, let's say, I think it's probably going to be the first 100 people that sign up get a 50% off discount, and so many more things. So check it out. I'll see you guys soon, and I love you. Namaste.